So, have you ever really thought about what makes a promise stick? I mean, what's the difference between saying you'll do something and being legally bound to do it? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the legal glue that turns a simple promise into a binding contract. Let's just get right to it with the biggest question of all. Is every single promise you make a contract? If you promise a friend you'll text them later and you don't, can they take you to court? Well, the short answer is a big fat no. And the reason why is actually what this is all about. Okay, picture this, because we've all been there. You promise to help your friend move next Saturday. In return, they promise you pizza and drinks. Sounds like a deal, right? But then the weekend comes, you oversleep, and you just don't show up. Can your friend actually sue you for the cost of hiring movers at the last minute? This is exactly where the law has to draw a clear line in the sand. And that line, that absolute key ingredient, has a special legal name: consideration. Now, I know it sounds a little formal, maybe even a bit boring, but trust me, it's the secret sauce. It is the one thing that transforms a casual promise into a legally enforceable agreement. You see, the courts, they really don't want to get involved every time a social plan falls through. Can you imagine? So they came up with a test, a filter, to separate the casual, I promise, from the serious, this is a real bargain kind of promise. And that whole test revolves around finding this one thing: consideration. The easiest way to think about it is right here. Consideration is the price of the promise. It's what each person is putting on the table. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be an action, an item, a service, or even promising not to do something. It's the this for that at the heart of any real deal. Now, to really get this, we're going to jump in a time machine and go all the way back to 19th century England. We're going to look at a landmark case that literally gave us the definition we still use today. It's called Curry versus Misa, and it's a fantastic story about debt, a check, and some really bad timing. Okay, I know this slide looks a little complicated, but let's just walk through it. It's actually pretty simple. Step 1, a company called Lazardi owes money to Curry's bank. Got it? Step 2, Lazardi decides to sell that debt to a guy named Misa. Then, in step 3, Misa writes a check directly to Curry's bank to pay it off. But here, and this is the big plot twist in step 4, before the bank can even cash that check, Lazardi goes bankrupt. So Misa immediately calls his bank and says, stop that payment. So this left the court with a massive headache. Curry's bank sued Misa saying, hey, that check was a binding promise to pay us. But Misa's argument was basically, wait a minute, what did I get out of this deal? I gave you a check, but what did you give me in return? Nothing. He was arguing there was no consideration. So who was right? The decision the court made here was huge. It wasn't just about one little check. Nope. It ended up creating a golden rule for what counts as a real two-sided bargain. A rule so powerful, its exact words are still taught in law schools all over the world. Okay, I know that is a mouthful of old school legal jargon, right? But don't worry. Buried inside that dense sentence is an idea that is pure genius. Justice Lush basically said consideration can be a benefit one person gets, or it can be a detriment the other person takes on. A loss, a responsibility, even just giving up a right. It doesn't have to be both. Just one or the other is enough. So let's break that down. As you can see, consideration has two sides of the same coin. It can be a benefit to one party or a detriment to the other. And in the case of Curry v. Misa, the court said the bank did provide consideration. By taking the check, they were basically agreeing not to chase after the now bankrupt Lazardi for the money. Giving up that right to sue, even for a little while, was a legal detriment. And that was all it took to make Misa's promise to pay legally binding. This comparison just makes it crystal clear. On the left, if I say, I'll give you my old laptop, that's just a promise for a gift. It's a one-way street. The law won't force me to do it. But on the right, if I say, I'll give you my old laptop if you help me move, now that's a two-way street. You get a benefit, the laptop. I get a benefit, moving help. That is a contract. So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, that's a neat little story from 150 years ago, but why on earth should I care about it today? Well, the thing is, this idea is secretly running in the background of almost everything we do. I mean, it is absolutely everywhere. When you buy a coffee, your money is the consideration. For your job, your work is consideration for your paycheck. And get this, even when you click I agree on those terms of service online, you are often giving up something valuable, like your personal data, as consideration for using a so-called free service. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about: fairness.
The idea of consideration is the law's way of making sure that we're enforcing real bargains, a genuine two-way street where both sides give something up, not just a one-way gift that somebody changes their mind about later.
And that kind of leaves us with a really fascinating question for today. In our super digital world of one-click agreements and all these free services, what we think of as a fair exchange is being pushed to its limits. Is giving up our personal data a fair price for using a social media app? It's a modern problem that takes that 19th century logic from Curie v. Misa and drops it right into the middle of our lives today. Something to think about, right?